Welcome to the Psych and Business Podcast. We're here to show you how practical psychology can be useful and make your workplace better. I'm Dr. Ernest Wayde. So I got some very useful feedback the other day from a listener. And if you know me, you know that I say that feedback is a gift. So thank you for that feedback. This particular listener said that they enjoyed listening to the psychological principles and concepts, but they weren't really sure how to apply that into their workplace to make things better. So I want to take this opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into how we can actually make psychology practical and apply it into our workplace to make things better. So let's take an example that I think is pretty common. Most people go to work 5 days a week, and at work, you're listening to your boss, you're listening to your coworkers, and you're listening to your customers. And then in return, you talk to them. You talk to your boss, you talk to your customers, you talk to your coworkers. But how often have you said, I don't really feel like these people are listening to me because they don't understand me? And that's what we do when we listen. We're supposed to understand from what we're hearing. And when we feel like people don't understand us, then we think they're not listening. And the truth is, as we're saying of these people, why don't they understand me? They're not listening to me. They're probably saying the same thing about you. They're probably wondering, why aren't you understanding me? Why aren't you listening to me? And that's because a lot of the time, when we feel like we are hearing, we're not always listening. Unless you're actually giving someone your full attention when you're listening, it's going to be really hard for you to fully understand what they're saying to you. I know for my part, a lot of the time when I feel like I'm really listening, I'm really just waiting to speak. Probably because I want to argue a point or make a counterpoint to what the other person is saying. So I'm not actually listening, which really inhibits my ability to understand what the other person is saying. I'll tell you something that psychology teaches us, and it's a really simple thing. Here it is. Listening is a skill. Yeah, that's right. Listening carefully to someone who is speaking is a skill that we all have to learn and develop. Now, you might say that I listen all the time. It's not something that I have to learn. It's something that I do normally. But there's a difference between hearing what someone is saying versus actually listening, which leads to understanding. You really need to make sure that you are listening. And listening is a skill that is developed over time. Now, psychologists and therapists call this active listening, and we use it to help us to make sure that we're fully understanding what people are saying to us. So as I said at the beginning of the episode, I really want to make this practical and user-friendly. So I want you to think of active listening like tuning into your favorite podcast, like this one. You're not just hearing the words that I'm saying, you're really focused in on what I'm saying, the tone of my voice, the emotion behind my words, and all of this helps you to understand, not just hear what I'm saying, but truly understand what I'm saying. That's active listening. Now, I want you to imagine that you're in a team meeting at work, and a member of your team excitedly describes an idea that they want the team to do. You're hearing them, but you're also on your phone, and you really don't care that much what they're saying because you have a great idea that you think would be better than anybody's idea. And besides, their idea won't work. And you really want to tell them that their idea won't work, and you want to tell them why their idea won't work. Honestly, you can't even understand why they're so excited about their idea. It obviously is a terrible idea. The truth here is that while you're hearing, you're not actually listening to your colleague. You're distracted by your phone, by your own idea that you think is much better than theirs, and you really think that their idea won't work anyway. So why pay attention? If you were really listening, you would set aside your phone. You would set aside your idea and focus on what your colleague is saying so that you can really understand why they think this is such a good idea. Why are they so excited about this idea? So just like you tune into every detail of your favorite podcast, and I know that you're actively listening to the words that I'm saying, it's really important that you tune in, that you actively listen to your colleagues so that you can get the full picture of what they're trying to say and really understand the message that they're trying to convey to you. Active listening is not easy to do. Just like anything else, it takes time and practice. You really have to make sure that you're setting aside your desire to jump in. to be heard, to argue a point, to point out somebody else's flaws in their decisions or their ideas. It takes work. Like any other skill, it takes practice to master. The good news is that anyone can learn to listen well. This is a skill that most of us can master with practice and time. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you are giving the person speaking your full attention. Practically, this means put your phone down. Look them in the eyes. This will help you make sure that you are giving them your full attention. The second thing is don't interrupt them. Wait patiently for them to finish speaking and don't rush them. The third thing that you can do is make sure that you have actually understood them. And you can do this by summarizing what you think you've heard and repeating it back to them in your own words. Now, this is really important because it really gives you an opportunity to repeat back to the speaker the message as you have understood it. Not just as you've heard it, but as you have understood it. And it gives them an opportunity to confirm that the message has been understood correctly or to make any corrections to your understanding of the message. You can even take notes of what they're saying. The last thing is to try to put yourself in their shoes so that you can listen from their point of view, not to judge or to defend. Try really hard to separate the act of listening from judgment, from response, or from action. Just listen to make sure that you are understanding what is being said to you. You do these 4 things and you'll go from just hearing what people are saying to you to really listening and understanding what they're trying to say to you. If you can really listen and understand what your coworkers, what your bosses, what your employees, what your customers are really saying to you, it will make your relationship with them better, and it'll decrease the number of misunderstandings and improve your communication, which helps everything at work. Remember, as my mom used to say, Rome was not built in a day. This is a skill, and like any other skill, it takes time and practice to master. Think of any skill that you have, any skill that you're good at. It took you time and it took you practice. But I really want to encourage you to practice your listening skills. Give the person your full attention. Don't interrupt them. Make sure that you have understood the message as intended. Listen from their point of view. These 4 things will be really helpful to you in your workplace, to improving your overall workplace. I hope you've enjoyed this message. And if you have, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review. We love feedback. Feedback is a gift. Thanks for listening, and we hope you will join us again next time.